DMC Dante's gameplay stands out in many ways. His classic Rebellion, his twin pistols, and of course his styles from 3 and onwards. But it's funny that every installment after 3 has had fewer and fewer styles. So with DMC5 Dante only having 4, it seems like whatever the next game is, it might follow. Well, that's even if Dante's a playable character. So today, let's look at the lost styles. What happened to them? Where have they been? And are they worth coming back? Hello ladies and gamers, my name is Splinter. Check out the channel of the same name. I'm currently working on a big DMC3 video. By the time you're seeing this, it's out now. It's called DMC3 is Overrated, and here's why. I'll be talking about both the original and the freestyle version on Switch. I plan to do a really big deep dive into some of its mechanics, and let's just say, in some areas, doesn't hold up. But that's for its own video. And don't forget, you can join my upcoming combo mat that will air on the main channel. Just join the Discord link below in the description and go from there. We do some silly stuff sometimes. This video is about a topic I've been dying to cover for a long time. This video will cover the 3 styles of Quicksilver, Doppelganger, and Darkslayer. This quick, informative video will get you to think about the topic just a little bit more. Alright, let's get started with Track 1, Quicksilver. DMC3, while having the main 4 styles that we all know today, we also are gifted with 2 mini styles. And this will be our starting point. After defeating the horse boss fight in Mission 12, we get Quicksilver. Quicksilver takes up the style spot. Once selected, Dante will stop time for how long you use it. But of course, it will run out if you run out of DT. This has always been quite odd to me. It does take up the style spot when it makes sense to just kind of switch it with DT with Quicksilver. Because of that fact, Quicksilver is only used in a few scenarios. So this is what makes it a gimmick style. On top of this, the style doesn't level up. So other than the main mechanic, that's kind of it. I mean, sure, it has a lot of invincibility frames, but that's its main purpose, to stop time. Nothing more, nothing less. So in the original, not too great. However, we're not done yet. The Switch version of DMC3 has the ability to equip every style all at once, meaning if you double tap the Swordmaster button, you can equip Quicksilver. And let me tell you, Quicksilver is so much better this way. It's a shame that most people haven't played this version, and it's a massive upgrade not only for DMC3, but for Quicksilver. So it's a good style when being used for other styles. So where has it been? Well, let's start with DMC4. I just wanted to mention it because somebody in the comments is going to talk about it. In a room in DMC4 and sometimes all over the place, there's this box thing. Yeah, that. It has the ability to slow down time. As long as you get near it, then activate it, no DT bar or anything required. But sadly, it's only been there a few times. So I don't know, I thought it was worth mentioning at least. So fine, let's move on to DMC Devil May Cry. Don't worry. Ragtime's up next, I promise. DMC Devil May Cry's gameplay is almost all the styles in one play without style switching system. So it's no surprise that one of the lost styles is in fact in this game. In fact, this isn't the only lost style in the game, but we'll get to that one later. Dante's DT is, in most modes of DMC Devil May Cry, throws the enemies up in the air. So you might say, this really isn't connected to Quicksilver. Not only would Ending Splinter be wrong, but Ending Splinter, I've slept with his mom. Over time, the enemies will come down, meaning there is a slowing of time, even if it's not exactly like Quicksilver. Honestly, this ties in back to my take about Dante's DT. I wish it was just Quicksilver. Like, I get it, they wanted to make Dante feel powerful, but I think Quicksilver already does that in the same way. Don't worry, I still like DMC Devil May Cry's Dante, and I will defend it even if it's not perfect. Okay, now the moment you've been waiting for. This whole section. Ragtime. In DMC5, Nero has multiple different breakers that do different things, and one of which is Ragtime, which points in a certain direction, a bubble that stops time from going through it. Once holding the button and letting go, Nero stops the time around him. However, the arm breaks. Guys, quick side note, I remember when DMC5 was just coming out and there was a lot of clickbait, and I remember one of Jojo Wi-Fi's clickbait video where he got his audience to click on it thinking that Quicksilver wasn't DMC5, but once you clicked on the video, it was just him talking about Ragtime, even though Ragtime wasn't in the title or the thumbnail. And what makes this even funnier is that the community already knew Ragtime was in the game. Oh, classic. Wonder what happened to that guy. Oh, Jesus can set you free. YouTube, Hemfire, okay, some gaming stuff. A prayer against demonic attacks, okay, that's kind of weird. End time. You know, guys, I never really liked JoJo Wi-Fi. Anyway, Quicksilver is mostly back, but a bit different. Not only does it not use DT, like the last two versions of Quicksilver, it just simply breaks. Plus, this is now Nero's ability, which makes the whole thing kind of bittersweet. But I think this is a pretty good follow-up. I just wish it had its own bar, or where I could use multiple breakers at once. Anyway, we'll come back to this at the end of the video. So while I like it on Dante, it's not bad with Nero. Moving on. Track 2, Doppelganger. DMC3 adds yet another mini style in Dante's kit, that being Doppelganger. If equipped, Dante uses a clone of himself for a certain period of time. The clone lasts as long as you have DT bar. It will copy your moves, allowing for double the damage and twice the combos. How is it? Meh, it's not perfect. First, yet again, it takes up DT. I get it for Quicksilver because it actually stops time, but Doppelganger you need to have a plan before using it. It's also worth mentioning that it has a delay, which most of the time I completely forget about. But like Quicksilver, you can't use any other style both in the original version and freestyle. I don't have to say this, but cutting off 50% of Dante's moveset really brings the potential down. Moreover, I rarely see anybody use this style, whether it be in S-rank videos or normal playthroughs. It just needs more thought and more moves. But still cool though, even though most won't use it. Now let's talk about Doppelganger's rebirth. In the final mission of DMC Devil May Cry's campaign, we see that Virgil uses Doppelganger. So naturally, we assume Dante doesn't have this ability, Virgil does. So when playing Virgil's downfall after beating the clone, Virgil is given the ability of Doppelganger. Thus, after the lack of it in DMC4, the mini style returns. Not only that, but it yet again takes up the DT bar. But there's a huge difference. Doppelganger is now his only DT. This bar is exclusive to the style. Well, there is an exception, but we'll get to that in a second. So, how is it? I'm a reboot defender, so you already know what I'm going to say. 9/11 wasn't in. It's really good. The best part about the amount of options at your use, you can now select any mode for your attacks, meaning if you want a normal swing in neutral, you equip demon mode for the clone, or the clone will do a normal swing while you do something else. And this can be applied to all of Virgil's kit. They even brought back the delay. Every bit of Doppelganger works in this kit. It not only keeps the original, but improves on it, expanding the moveset. That being so, it's not exactly as an easy style to work with or understand right away. It does take time, but if you put in the work, you can do some awesome stuff. The only real problem is that Virgil's summon swords take up the same DT bar. But this isn't as much of a problem as you think because summon swords don't take up that much bar if you use it well. So, let's see if this comes back in the main series. As per usual with DMC5, it takes yet another inspiration from DMC Devil May Cry. Virgil returns with Doppelganger in 5. Just like DMC Devil May Cry, you can use the clone for all of his moveset. You have the Yamato, you have the delay, and hold on, let me check for any other moves. Where is the... Oh my god! So, newsflash, Capcom. Love the Doppelganger that it's back. It's great. But, you forgot to finish it. I still don't understand why this doesn't bother people like it does me. DMC Devil May Cry's Virgil clone was near perfection. All you had to do was copy and paste. Bro, I remember the week of it coming out. Modders easily put it into the game because Capcom doesn't apparently know how to do that. To me, there is literally no excuse that makes sense. Fine, whatever. Let's talk about the other problem. Well, yet again, Doppelganger uses DT, but so does Virgil's actual DT. But you fell into the same problem DMC3 did. The whole reason why it didn't work in 3 was because it was competing with the other DT, and Quicksilver as well. Now the problem is worse because in 5, Virgil has the most busted moves imaginable in DT. Someone must have really liked Gojo and took some inspiration because he is untouchable with DT. Why even pick up Doppelganger when DT destroys everything? Alright, let's move on. We'll come back to this later. Track 3, Darkslayer. Alright, time to work on the strangest style out there is, Darkslayer. When hitting the style button 2 times, Dante will use the Yamato, the weapon from his twin brother. And since this style was created before DMC Devil May Cry Virgil and DMC4 Virgil, the weapon only has like 3 moves. Oh boy. All you have is the basic combo, Judgment Cut, and Aerial Rave. First off, why is there one combo? Can they just not come up with anything more? Second, why doesn't the Judgment Cut, IDK, work like a Judgment Cut? why is there a near and far version? Just hit the enemy. Third, why are there no other moves in the air? Don't get me wrong, I love Aerial Rave, but can there please be more? Honestly, look, a long time ago I made a video called Should Lucifer and Darkslayer Switch? It was my first scripted video, and in it I made the point that Lucifer feels far more like a style than Darkslayer, because Darkslayer is a weapon, not a style. When thinking about it, wouldn't it be cool to see how Dante's Swordmaster moves could use in a completely different way? Isn't it a bit disappointing that Dante just uses Virgil's weapon the same way Virgil does, but worse? Anyway, I'll make a video on it at some point, but this style doesn't feel like a style at all. That was a good one. So moving on to Nero. Nero has used the moveset 2 times. Kind of, sort of. Look, it's not exactly labeled as Darkslayer, but in the same principle it can be used. In 4, he does quite literally just use the weapon, but it's kind of like Darkslayer, but exactly, so I'm not going to count it as such. But honestly, Nero uses it completely different with different animations for his DT moves, so I just thought it was at least worth mentioning. But before we move on to the last section, I know Darkslayer is technically in DMC3. To me, it's less of a style and more of an extra move with Virgil, but it's literally just teleporting like in 3, 4, and 5. And in DMC Devil May Cry, Virgil has a demon and regular teleport, so does that make Darkslayer too? I don't... It's not much of a lost style, it's more of just an expected thing for Virgil, period. Track 4. Should the lost styles come back? Okay, we can finally talk about it. So, should Quicksilver come back? Hell yes, it was amazing. Now, who to give it to is a bit up in the air. I love it in Dante's kit, and it's very similar to DMC3, but if Nero is going to have it, then make it work like Ragtime. Other than these two, I don't really want anybody else to use it. I'll get back to why in a few minutes. I want to say that Quicksilver is really good in nearly every situation. Offense, defense, and combos. It's easy to understand, yet fun to learn more about. So, should Doppelganger come back? Absolutely, but it must stay with Virgil. I know this started with Dante, but I believe that this style fits Virgil more. I want to touch upon something for all the styles that I want to cover. Styles should say something about everyone. There needs to be a purpose. It's the reason why I want Virgil to have such a drug-infested shadow. It's something unique to the character. Now, I want Doppelganger to have its own bar. I think DMC Devil May Cry Virgil was mostly on the right track. So, should Darkslayer come back? Honestly, not really. For Nero it makes sense, but even then, that's because they can't give him another gun or a sword for some reason. Other than that, Dante doesn't need it. He already has so many weapons as is. Conclusion. While these styles may be lost, all of them can make a comeback in some way. They really added something to the games that they were a part of, and they aren't lost, more of a sense of repurposed and retooled. Tell me, if these styles should come back to Dante, or maybe other characters, give it to Lucia for all I care. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love reading them. It has been Splinter3303. Okay guys, I'm gonna read off something. It's very important. I'll make it real quick, I promise. Hey, Splinter, I just wanted to talk about a serious problem. Have you ever watched a Devil Joe video and your ears hurt because he screams so loud? It's not just you. About 99% of people experience this. So, I have a solution. Every like on this video will go to give Joe the chance to not yell at the top of his lungs. Please donate today. Don't worry if you feel bad. Joe has DMC Devil May Cry hate syndrome, so it's not his fault entirely. I just thought it'd be funny. Devil Joe's content is for the most part alright, okay?